What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today I wanted to update one of my older videos talking about mistakes new players and returning players will probably make that will slow down your progression. So I made a list of 7 things, and last year when I made this video, I thought they were important, but as you guys know, BDO is an always changing game, and MMOs do that. So I thought we'd talk about some more updated things and also bring back some old topics that we talked about and, just update that. So with the list I made in no particular order, they're all pretty important. Number 1, reselling gear. I've seen a lot of videos and streamers do this, and you know how, let's say some of your gear has a price tag on it, right? And let's say you're at, this kind of a bad example, but let's say you have a piece of gear and it's worth, 30 billion silver, but you only have like 20. So people try to sell older gear to buy the new one, but then you're also down, the old piece. So yeah, as we all know, taxes in this game are pretty big. And when you're just reselling gear to get one upgrade, you're going to have to buy the old piece of gear or whatever you sold back generally again. And by that time, you could have just grinded out another hour or a couple hours and made the silver back. So it's always one thing that I would say 99% of the time, it's not worth reselling and taking that tax hit loss. So it's something that I would just literally go do something else, try to make some silver in the meantime. And there's like a very 0.1% where it might be worth it when it's like a super rare piece of gear. But that point in the game is you are already at the end game. So for most people, it's not worth reselling gear to make one upgrade because you're gonna have to buy it back eventually. And I see people doing that. And in other games where there's no like tax system, or you could just get it back super easily, that's less of a problem. But in this game it is. So I wouldn't do that. Next thing I want to talk about is using optimal fail stacks when you're enhancing gear. So as you move up into the mid to end game, the direction of Black Desert has been going into non-sellable gear and gear that is only made through self-enhancing. And I see a lot of people using unoptimal fail stacks, and I know there's a lot of tinfoil strats that people do, and just people clicking things randomly, inefficiently. But when you're actually going for gear upgrades unironically, you should probably use the proper fail stack. So let's use a piece of gear that, I'll just use for an example. So they've actually made this game, pretty easy, or I would say not easy, but easier. And it tells you more information than we used to have back in the day. And you used to be able to, or you had to be able to figure it out through like word of mouth and just talking to other people. Nowadays, if you're trying to upgrade something, it has this adventurous choice thingy, which is basically telling you what stacks other people use to enhance the same exact item that you're doing, which I think is pretty helpful. But at the same time, I feel like, you should take this with a grain of salt. A lot of these are, I wish they had a bigger spread of numbers, but it is what it is. And yeah, at least we have more data, and make sure to always just ask people. But if you are one of those people that enjoys looking at the numbers for everything, the way you would do that is you look at the cron cost of it, and then also like the success rate of everything. The success rate, cron cost, enhancing material cost, and the pity, and then you do some you factor that in, like how much does each click cost? How much can you buy it for? Now divide it by that number to tell you is like what's the average, and then you base your fail stack around that number, and these are what people usually get on average. But yeah, so I would say using the optimal fail stack, there is a lot of RNG. But at least if I were to go back in time and start a new account, what would I do? I would always just try to go for averages and not getting lucky or extremely unlucky, obviously RNG. But if I had a choice in the game, it's like, would you rather play with RNG, or would you rather be average 100% of the time and aren't like enhancing? I would rather be average 100% of the time. Takes a little bit less fun, but then it doesn't hurt as bad when you go pity like I've done multiple times. So anyway, yeah, just actually try to calculate all the numbers, talk to other people, just use that adventurous choice thingy when you're enhancing an item. But as you go into the end game, a lot of these items you cannot buy off the market. You have to kind of self-enhance. So it's just one thing to keep in mind. And if you have no idea what stack to use for a certain thing, feel free to just ask, write in the comments or something. I'll get back to you if I can. But either way, a lot of these are, you know, as you get to the end game, you cannot buy most of your gear. The next thing I want to talk about, number 3, is actually using buffs for PvE, PvP, life skilling, no matter what you're doing in this game. So I actually see every now and then I like to browse, you know, Twitch and watch some other people, find someone new. And when you see them grinding, they're not running full buffs on everything. And I used to be that kind of person when I started the game. I was like, is it really optimal to do this? And like, will I make the silver back? And I can assure you 100% of, well, maybe not 100%, but like 99% of the time, you are making the silver back if you're doing like an hour and you're full buffed of grinding. And also that kind of goes with loot scrolls. You should try to get to as close to 300%, if not 300, as you can, because like the math checks out. And trust me when I say I've played this game for a long time. So yeah, try to use as much of like all the buffs you can to be as efficient as you can. I'll leave a link in the description to like how you can full stack all your buffs, the best things to use, beginner friendly options. And so that one's an entire video itself. It's not too long, it's maybe like 20 minutes or maybe, but either way, that'll teach you how to get things set up properly and, you know, get things done faster. So yeah, just use your buffs. I can assure you, you will be doing a better hour than if you aren't, and you'll be making the, like in terms of trash loot and everything, generally you'll be making the money back plus more, so it's always more profit per hour. And that goes for PvE, life skilling. PvP is a different story because you don't really make the money back unless you're doing high-end stuff, but that's kind of like a different topic. But for most people, PvE, life skilling, full buff will always be profitable. Next thing I want to talk about, number 4, is actually using your energy. Now, you ever see those people who have like their energy full at all times? Yeah, you kind of want to actually use it. And people are like, oh, I don't know what to use it on. So let me just give you some things and tell you why. So energy in this game is kind of like silver indirectly, because you use your energy and you can do a lot of different things with it, and then you can turn it into silver. The most profitable things I would say with energy is probably gathering, because you just gather materials, either sell it or, you know, use it to make more stuff and then sell it for silver. But if you're one of those people that don't like life skilling, what I would do is start investing your energy into nodes. And let's take one for example. So I don't know. This is one of the things I've been grinding recently, Star's End. You see this number right here? It'll say like a 20. And then any other node that you don't have invested, it'll just say 1. So what you want to do is you pick a node that you're grinding, and you'll see, like, look over here. If you're ever wondering about any sort of grind spot, like wherever you're at, and you don't know what node to invest in, just click the thing over here, hover over the little like loot bag, and it'll tell you connected node. This is the one you want, and invested, and then it'll increase your permanent drop rate as long as you're grinding in that spot and you have the node connected. So here's how you do it. Let me find one. Let's just use this one for example, because this one's level 1. Do you see how over here it says invest energy? You just level it up, and then nowadays they made it easier, so you could just use all your energy directly from all your characters, and then you just boost it up to level 20. So never let your energy cap out. Invest in nodes if you're not a life skiller. If you are a life skiller, I'd probably recommend go gathering for it. And then also for people who are in a rush and don't have time for either, in Velia, the NPC Aliston, he sells energy potions, and you can turn in like 200 energy over here into an energy potion over here. basically it's a, sellable value. It's not really good value, but it's, you can take a potion and then not keep yourself from overcapping and or sell it for silver. I think this item should be buffed in terms of silver value because 50 energy is worth a lot. But anyway, use your energy, make sure it's never capped, and then whether you're a PvEer, life skiller, there's always something to do with it. And at least like silver equals, or energy equals silver in one way or the other, just whether it's long term or short term. But just make sure to not cap or not keep your energy capped for too long or at all. Also, having energy batteries or other characters helps. And here's one other thing, one tip that I can give you. As far as I know, this still works. So if you have a character that is not, your main, you can wait, is it? Hold on. They have crystals that are energy crystals. So if you have plus 10 max energy, you can have 2 of them. As far as I understand, if you put them on other characters, like you see how my cap is 743 right now. If you have characters with the energy crystals slotted, even if you're not playing them, their cap is the plus 20. So it would be 763, right? So if you just let them build up over time, it'll have the cap as long as you have the crystal set up on them and not your main. So is it really that big of a deal? No, but if you don't use your energy ever, you might as well, just add something onto it on the side. All right, the next thing I want to talk about, number 5, is playing a class you enjoy. So as we all know, gaming at the end of the day is mostly playing for fun. And I see a lot of people meta re-rolling, and I understand you want to play all the different classes, try it out once. I think that's fine. There's no big deal. But then when you see someone re-rolling every single week and you're like, are you making progress? Because you still have to, you learn the character, and then if you're only playing the game for the meta, I don't think that's a bad thing, but it's like you have to learn it. You're spending time optimizing your character and everything, and then all that time you could just be grinding on the character that you like and then just be making more silver and progression over time. So I don't think it's a wrong way to play if you like re-rolling. I just think it's gonna slow your progression down a little bit, but that's about it. But that's what this topic was all about. So yeah, at the end of the day, even if your character isn't the most meta or the most efficient, guarantee you will burn out less by just playing the one you like over following the meta that changes every single month or so. So that would be a tip I give you. I don't think it's a wrong thing to do. If you like playing all the characters, that's fine, but you just know that people who are locked into like 1 or 2 characters will probably be making faster progression than people who re-roll to the meta every single week to make a small amount of like marginally different silver when you're grinding. So just keep that in mind. The next thing I want to talk about is focusing on your own goals instead of copying others. Now, we all know Black Desert is one of those games where 95% of the game is playing solo, right? So whether you're life skilling, PvEing, and even sometimes PvPing, that's like the only group thing. But most of the time you're going to be playing this game solo, and I understand when you look at someone else's videos or like their stream or anything, you're like, oh, I should copy this thing and do what they do. I guarantee you, like, when I've seen people try that and then their like build is all messed up, and it's because like the end game people have their things like optimized. But if you're a newer player trying to copy someone's build, then you're asking yourself, do you know why you're doing this and everything else? So one thing I would actually do for new players realistically is work on one piece of gear at a time. I know people are like, oh, I should probably update this first, or one piece of gear and then maybe this one, maybe another weapon, and then now just work on one gear piece at a time. That way once you finish that, it actually feels good instead of just making the big like smaller upgrades over time. You're working on one major goal and then going on to the second one. Trust me when I say it's like it feels better than just going all over the place. You get more confused and you're like, oh, this might have changed in the meta. It's like maybe this isn't even good anymore. So one thing to do, just lock in. If you say, hey, I have a goal of X amount of AP, work on like AP first and then DP, or you know, whatever is the cheapest in terms of most stats gained anyway. So at the end of the day, it's a game, do whatever you want, but in terms of like you not getting as confused, just work on one piece at a time. The last thing I want to talk about, number 7, is actually setting up your nodes and workers early on. Now, this is something that I only did a couple, I would say probably last year I started optimizing it. So with nodes, it's something that's always changing because they change the numbers around and, you know, like all of this stuff. So your worker setup and all your nodes, here's how I would set it up. Instead of copying someone else, well, you could if you were just wanting to make profit, but if you do any sort of life skilling, you want to set up the nodes that are the most profitable for you, or also the ones that you will have a bottleneck on. So like, let's say you're cooking, right? And it requires 5 different materials, but you can only get 4 of them easily and the market's sold out. You want to get or set your workers on the nodes that give you that 5th material so you don't have to do as much of it. And that's something I would work on. After that, you start optimizing your workers in terms of, you know, the grade quality. For most people, here's what I'd recommend. Try going for at least professional, which is yellow. Let me show you how to do that. In every town, there is a work supervisor, right? And what you're going to want to look for, or what you're going to want to do, is go over here and then something like this. So when you view continuously, what I would recommend is starting at professional plus if you don't have your thing set up. And then when you go to artisan, that's endgame because this is when you're min-maxing things. But going from professional and up, you want to at least get your workers going first, because I believe actually in terms of like math and everything, even if you're not min-maxing it, professional works like significantly more than skilled and normal, to the point where it's worth just going professional and up. They should probably just take these out of the game, to be honest, in my opinion. So yeah, set up your workers and nodes early on with the things you need, in particular, whatever materials, and then organize your storages in terms of like, hey, Heidel is my crafting area for processing, cooking, alchemy, or, you know, set different towns to be like set up for different materials. So like the way I would do this, for example, is Odalita. I used to do a lot of alchemy here. Heidel and Glish are a lot of cooking, alchemy as well, but Odalita is making elixirs and potions and everything, whereas I don't know, Calpheon is a bunch of a mixed bag of everything, and sort of organize your storages, whereas like Portferia is for boat upgrading, Ilia Island is bartering. So that's how you sort of organize your storages early on, and then same with workers and nodes. What I'd recommend is at least trying to get everything professional and up, and then later on go for artisan. And then once all of your things are artisan, you start looking at the skills, and then that's when the things kind of take a lot of time to start min-maxing your workers and everything. So yeah, that's just a whole end game thing. But at least set your workers and nodes up early on, and I think you'll be good. So that has been 7 things I wanted to talk about. There's probably a lot more things I could talk about as well, but if you're a new player, without getting too deep into this and too confusing, those are 7 things I would recommend like a new player would do early on. So yeah, with that said, just wanted to say thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We're closing in on 80,000 subscribers. That's a big number. I never thought I'd get that far in life, to be honest. So yeah, hopefully we can see that grow over time. We got a bunch of videos coming out in the near future, got more topics to talk about, and then whenever weekly changes happen, we like to cover the new stuff. But anyway, I'm out for today. See you guys tomorrow. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to join the Discord, all that stuff. Drop a comment. Happy to point you guys in the right direction. And I will see you tomorrow. Peace!